We're back with Brian McQuery, nominated by Jim Hill. Brian, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you've got a film called Confession. You're the writer, the director. We'll kick it off with the first question. Why this film? What was the passion, the motivation, the inspiration behind Confession?
I was bullied as a kid, and
Okay.
so bullying has really become a big topic, and the effects of bullying. And I wanted to examine that and kind of tell the story from a different perspective, and not tell the story of the kid being bullied, but show the effects of that and start a conversation. Really.
Yeah, I can definitely understand and sympathize with that. Brian, before we have follow-up questions, your mic is there's a little feedback or a little kind of, is there anything that you could do?
I don't
Your
know.
headset maybe, or just sitting closer to the microphone or something?
I can try to get closer.
Okay. All right. That's a little better. Thank you. Yeah. So being bullied, I mean, it's tough. I think everybody, can relate to it in one way, shape, or form. I mean, I think it's, definitely some people have it more in their face and more consistently than others. And the way that you told the story of bullying is unique in this film. And do you feel that the meaning of the film is for you, either when you started it or watching it in reflection? What's the movie saying?
It's saying that even though the actions that you do that seem relatively minor, you're picking on a kid, that can really have an effect on someone that you never anticipated, and it can lead to tragedy.
Yeah. And, it's even, there's even something more to it. Watching the film, it's the person who is getting bullied seems to be um, doing it for reasons that are, um, are reasons of insecurity and and seeking attention and seeking approval by denigrating another person. So I think that cycle is definitely there, and I think it's very realistic. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Seeing it and experiencing it now on both sides, either as being bullied or being a filmmaker creating a movie from the point of view of the bully.
Yeah, I mean, when you are bullied, like I was, you don't really have any sympathy for that person bullying you. But I wanted to paint a picture that every bully is not necessarily a monster. In my film, Eric comes from a broken home, and I tried to illustrate that in the beginning sequence. He doesn't have a great life, and when he realizes the attention he can get from picking on this kid at school, and now kids think he's cool and he gets attention, he thrives on that, and it's unfortunate, but that's what makes his life better at the time.
And I think it's interesting having the compassion for the bully, and I wonder if it was part of your process in healing from that trauma.
Um, I don't know. I mean, it still sticks with me. It doesn't affect my life on a daily basis, but it certainly did when I was a kid. And some people have said they don't like Eric in this film, and that's fine. You don't have to like Eric. It wasn't my intention that you like him. I wanted you to understand him.
I was at a high school the other day, and there's a poster, and it said, there was a quote of Gandhi's, and the poster said, if we practice an eye for an eye, the whole world will be blind. And the compassion, I think, for the perpetrators of violence as well as the victims is uh, necessary in the process of healing and breaking that cycle.
Yeah, it's difficult because actually, about 6 months after I made this film, I was the victim of a violent crime,
Hmm.
and I was almost killed. I was in a coma for a week.
Oh, Jesus.
I actually visited my doctors last week, 2 weeks ago, who saved my life, and they said I was minutes to hours from passing
Oh,
away.
my God.
So I didn't know that at the time because I was in a coma.
Right.
But to find that out after the fact and to wake up and realize we lost a week and people are starting to explain what happened, I have to admit it's very hard for me to have any passion or forgiveness for the guy that did this to me. So
Yeah, I can absolutely sympathize with that. The challenge of forgiving the cruelty that is perpetrated, whether it's to ourselves or the ones we love or even strangers, is just mind-boggling. And yet it seems to be the only path to let go of the burden that we carry. You know, the anger that um, it causes in our own hearts and minds and bodies, and you know, that's so challenging to do.
very hard.
Yeah. And yet it's somehow necessary. So I certainly wish you, you know, facility along that journey, and may that be an easy one. And you know, ultimately, you know, we are all part of the same substrata of air, cosmos, and Earth. So, you know, however you view it, there's certainly a connection amongst us all, and you know, the ripple effects are felt. Well, Brian, last question, and thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really sorry. That's, you know, uh, I'm sorry that that happened to you. Thank God you're alive. Um, so, last question is: since making that film, such a deeply personal film, you know, as all good movies, good films, good works of art are, um, what have you learned looking back on your experience?
That's a tough question. It's so unfortunately it's so colored by the fact that shortly after I completed the film, then I went through all this, and it was kind of like nothing was important except being alive and living. So it's hard to reflect on on the film with that shadow over it.
Yeah,
Uh, I just hope that people watch the film and it sparks a conversation because the parents that I do know that have watched the film have shared it with their teenagers and talked about it, and that's what I hope for. I hope it sparks conversation, and I hope it shows that bullying may seem like it's not a big deal. You're making some jokes or picking on a kid, but my film shows the extreme results that could happen. I took it as far as it could go with violence in a school, but it could it could lead to suicide. It could lead to just misery. It could lead to other things that just damage someone's life for no reason.
yeah, and I think it's for both sides. You know, it's you can't get away from that kind of behavior, whether you're the giver or the receiver, without deep scars and trauma and a deeply impacted psyche.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for making this film and sparking the dialogue. And it's one certainly that's out there and very realistic. And you hear, you know, these things happen on a far too frequent basis. So thanks again. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for making this film. Thank you for sharing. And it was a pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks for having me.
You got it, Brian. All right. Till next time.
All right. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave us a like and or a comment. It makes a big difference. Play It Forward is brought to you by Digipops, where we're building a community to put film and filmmaker discovery in your hands. Here, filmmakers and fans, the creative class, recognizes each other fairly and transparently through a community-curated film festival each quarter. It's coming soon. Thank you.